In the film The Kid Who Would Be King, Alex is a young boy who pulls a sword from a stone. So does that make him the now and future king of all Britons? But more importantly, does he know the airspeed velocity of an unladen swallow? The film is from writer-director Joe Cornish. Now, he has partnered with Edgar Wright on a lot of different things, including Hot Fuzz, Ant-Man and the Wasp, and also one of my all-time favorites, Attack the Block, which he also directed. This is The Kid Who Would Be King, and it stars Louis Serkis, who is Andy Serkis's son. And he plays Alex, this boy who happens upon a sword that is stuck into a stone. Well, that's kind of the whole thing. I mean, it's the King Arthur story told in modern times. Overall, the film is kind of fun because what it is it's Alex and his friends whom he knights to become his Knights of the Round Table, and they have to go on a quest because the world is about to be taken over by Morgana, who is Arthur's half-sister, who is just an evil sorceress. You learn all of this at the very beginning of the movie, right at the intro, actually. And they do some cool animation to tell this story before you get into the live-action part of the story. So we have Alex, who is the one who pulls the sword from the stone, and then he has his friend Betters, and he is like just, right there with him, always just the best of friend. They have two bullies who are Lance and Kay, and eventually they become part of the Round Table, and that's, Sir Lancelot and Sir Kay, except Kay in this one is a girl. And I love it because she's not a romantic interest of any of the other boys. She is just part of the group, and I think that is a dynamic that needed to stay that way so that you don't get this weird offshoot of some romantic element that doesn't belong and didn't fit within the story. So I'm glad they kept that out. Rebecca Ferguson is Morgana, and she doesn't have a huge part in there, and when you see her, she looks pretty weird. I mean, it's almost like she doesn't have eyebrows. She's got a lot of makeup on because she's this sorceress who's been banished to the underworld for so many centuries. And she's got, just limbs and branches and roots all hanging off her. And so it's a cool effect and she looks cool, but she is almost unrecognizable. One of my favorite characters in the whole film is Merlin, and he's played by two characters. One is young and one is old. The older is Patrick Stewart, and he's just, think Christopher Lloyd in Back to the Future where his hair's all out and he's just kind of there and a little bit absent-minded, but with some good humor. And that's how Patrick Stewart is playing Merlin. The younger one, though, is awesome because he's this 16-year-old boy who is trying to fit in to the modern-day world, but he's totally out of his element. And I love the fact that when he does his spells, they're not verbal. They are all with hand movements. And so what it ends up looking like is him being one of the Three Stooges giving baseball signals combined with conjuring up some kind of Doctor Strange shield or something like that. He's like... like that. That's what he's doing. And it's awesome to see. At the very beginning it was a little like, what the crap is going on? That is weird and I'm not sure I like this. But as he did it more and more, I loved it. Because you get some of these sounds of... and you just, I don't know. It was really good and it was really cool to see, and watching him as he did it and his facial expressions and how into it he is, I just think that it lended itself really well and it made it cool to watch. The pace on the film is slow, in certain parts at least, because by the time we get to the third act of the film, I've noticed a lot of the time. And there's still a whole bunch left to go. And so I think they could have condensed it in some ways. I was trying to think about what would you cut out? And I think what it is it's not you cut out any large scene, it's you cut little bits of all of the scenes to really condense it up, to move the story along just a little bit. Because I think for a family film, little kids might get squirmy and might get a little bored sitting in this for so long. I was engaged in it, but I did notice the time too, and I'm not a little kid. Now the CGI in the film is not awesome. It's not terrible, but it's just not up to the level that you would expect in this day and age. So it's just kind of there. It was all right. So I don't know. I count that as a negative towards the film because I think it could have been so much better in what they did. My youngest son, as an aside, brought this up that it was like, it's kind of like Thor Ragnarok, where you have the king's heir and the king's heir's half-sister are battling it out for control. And, so what is it? Hela, She wants to control and destroy the world. She wants to just, destroy Thor and everything else. And then Thor, to prove that he is worthy, to prove that he is king, he has something that only he can lift. Kind of like Excalibur out of the stone. I thought that was kind of cool. I don't know if that's, Thor, I think, in the Norse mythology came much before King Arthur, but I don't really know. It was fun, and you may or may not find that part interesting, and you're like, shut up, keep going with the review. Okay, here we go. So overall, I think the film is really good. I loved the message, especially of the film, because it was friends, family, love, loyalty. They really pushed home those core beliefs and those core values throughout the film. And I think that's what it really, the strength of the movie, because you have great characters, they're fun to watch, they grow on you and they grow together, but then also that central core message, which I think is just awesome. And even one other one is truth, where how are things ever made worse? By telling the truth. And I think that was a good and important message to send to young kids and really to anybody who's watching it. There's no sex or nudity. There is a little bit of language and some violence. I give The Kid Who Would Be King 3.5 out of 5 couches. What's your favorite King Arthur story or movie or retelling? I'd love to know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me.